3 insightful episodes. Today, we'll be breaking down blockchain from its basics to how it's revolutionizing industries. Our format will be a bit different, more conversational, with a focus on real world applications and insights. We want this to be interactive, so please feel free to ask questions throughout the session. I'm excited to introduce our esteemed panel of speakers. We have 𝗕𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃, General Manager AI CERTs, who is an expert in blockchain fundamentals and applications, will lead our first session, followed by 𝗘𝗅𝗲𝗰𝗂𝗁𝗂𝗰, Practice Head Blockchain Growth AXL, will be joining us for the second session, focusing on blockchain security, cryptocurrency, and legal considerations. Finally, we have Yash Sharma, Head Blockchain Web 2 Architect, will close the series with insights on how blockchain is shaping business innovation and future trends. Let's kick off with the basics with Chintan. Blockchain is a buzzword that's been around for a while, but what does it really mean and how is it being used? To answer these questions, we have 𝗕𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 with us today. Chintan, over to you, please.
Thank you, Rohini. So yeah, absolutely, and this is a very fascinating series that we've been thinking of. What is blockchain, right? Like, everybody's thinking about what's this, where this jargon has came from, right? All of us know about a little, but then we have a lot of misconception around it. That what's this fascinating technology is about. So imagine uh, you have a bank which is running 24 cross 7 365 days without a single employee, which does not require a KYC, and you can do the transaction across the globe without having any hassle of approvals within the entire process, right? That's what the Bitcoin is. So it has all started. When you talk about the blockchain, you cannot forget about the Bitcoin, right? It has all started from the Bitcoin. Now, blockchain is what? A blockchain is an underlying technology behind the Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is one of the application of a blockchain. So technically, blockchain is something where you are having a zero centralized control, but you're giving the control to community. So imagine you're working on a solution which needs to be controlled by the or the managed by the community rather than it is managed or controlled by the individuals or companies. That you are trying to fascinating talk about the blockchain. So blockchain, uh, whenever you talk about the blockchain, it starts with the Bitcoin. It's an underlying technology behind the Bitcoin. And to understand it seamlessly, uh, if you are having a community driven project where you're making sure that you're having a control to the community to run that project, and the networks and technology behind it is not managed or controlled by the single entity or an individual, that's where the blockchain comes into the picture.
That sounds fascinating, Chintan. But how does prompt for practical application play out in real world? Can you give us some examples how blockchain is being used in practice?
Absolutely. So, without knowingly, unknowingly, we right now know that blockchain is being already been part of a lot of the things that we are doing right now, right? So, imagine any industry where you want to bring a transparency and control to the community. A blockchain is a practical application or a use case, right? Let's say you start with a supply chain, right? A food that we are consuming, is it the legitimate food? The products that we are using, are the products legitimate? The financial services that we are having, there's a lot of control which we need to give it to a centralized authority, right? So imagine the power systems that we are using, it has been controlled by the power companies, right? If you talk about the healthcare, insurance, banking, advertisement industry, the software solutions and everything which is being controlled and owned by the individuals or the companies, That's where the blockchain comes into the picture. So whenever you think of a project or a solution which is a community driven, which brings the complete transparency into the ecosystem, where there is always a single source of truth, where even if we want to do some falsification in the process, we cannot do it. That's where the blockchain comes into the picture. So the practically every industry is right now started integrating the blockchain within. But to keep it simple, how it is being utilized is in the general current setup that we have it, we use a database as a centralized storage of information. In blockchain, what happens, you're storing the information in a decentralized network. Now when you say decentralized network, that means you are storing your information in the thousands and millions of computer in an encrypted format. So that means you are storing an information, but then you can verify the information. You cannot falsify it or make any updates to that information without a proper consensus or approval of all the network participants, right? So practically any industry which wants to bring the transparency to the customer, their entire ecosystem, we would like to go ahead and utilize a blockchain. For example, I'll give you a small example. When everyone and anyone, when they apply for a job application, we need to use the share all the documentation of our employment and experience and our certificate credentials and etc multiple times, right? Imagine you store this information over a blockchain, right? What you will be able to do is you have a single source of truth on the blockchain, and the end user can, or end companies can technically go and verify it directly from the blockchain. So there is a zero uh, falsification alarm for this entire process, right? So we do have a solution when you talk about this, like a search 365, right? So search 365 is one of the solution which we have built in our AI search lab solution, where it basically verifies and issues the certificates on the blockchain itself. So technically, there are a lot of use cases of a document verification through the financial inclusion to the anywhere you need a transparency, you would going to go and utilize the blockchain.
Amazing. I think one of the unique products which will be benefiting a whole lot of industries tomorrow. Thank you, Chintan. So, moving ahead, would you please be able to elaborate a little bit about smart contracts? It's another term we often hear about in blockchain discussions. What exactly are they and why are they important?
Absolutely. So when you talk about the blockchain, a blockchain is a decentralized network, like we talked about. So when you want to write down some business logics on the decentralized network, you're using some programming codes, right? So smart contracts are nothing but the smart nor the contracts. So they are not a smart, neither they are agreements. They are basically a piece of code or a software code which basically executes when a certain conditions are matched. So imagine you are taking a vaccination, right? And you want to see that vaccination you have taken is legitimate or not, right? It has been preserved throughout the entire its life cycle with a proper temperature or not. If you're writing a smart contract which says the temperature increases or decreases, you're not going to consume the vaccination because it's not been preserved properly. Those logics you can write in the smart contract. Imagine you're writing an email, right? You have hundreds of emails. You want to put some condition that these, if these conditions are matched in your email, then there should be set of action has to be performed. The authorities and approval has to be done. So anything which needs to be automated in the decentralized network, they are run through the smart contract. So for a layman's to understand, a smart contract is nothing but a piece of code which makes the process on the blockchain automate, so that there is no human intervention to execute something across the network.
Uh, that brings me to a question that which industry do you think would be most benefited by smart contracts?
Wonderful question. So when you're writing something on the blockchain, right, you are supposed to write down the business logic. So let's say you're writing down that someone is claiming, let's say you talk about an insurance industry, right? Someone is claiming for the insurance for an incident has an occurred, right? If they're uploading the documents correct, the legitimacy of the document is validated over the blockchain, the smart contract will automate the remaining entire reimbursement process for an end user, right? So technically, any industry starting from a healthcare, insurance, banking, supply chain, right? All the industries where you feel that the decision has to be taken care by the community driven project where we want to bring a transparency and you want to automate the process, you would write the logics in the smart contract, right? So if these certain conditions are matched, that logics or the business logics will execute and the next set of actions will be performed. So that way we are not relying on the manual intervention or someone to go ahead and approve certain things. So smart contracts are very important, irrespective you're talking about any particular use case, but they are very useful when you have a strong business logics. So when you have a process, in that process, when you have a strong business logics, where set of processes to be executed, once the conditions are met, you would technically use a smart contract to do it for you.
Thank you, Chintan. I think this is incredibly insightful. I think we can now take some questions from our audience about blockchain basics, practical applications, or smart contracts. I would request the audience to feel free to use the chat box to put in your questions. Well, in the meanwhile, Chintan, we could probably talk about can blockchain technology be used in industries other than finance? If so, could you provide some specific examples?
Absolutely. So blockchain can be utilized in any industry, like I mentioned, right? Let's just start with the educational industries, right? Wherein you are into an educational industry, there a lot of documentation process happens manually, right? And then there is a legitimacy. You would need to test it for all the documentation that you're performing, right? Let's say you're taking a degree, right? I mean, there are certain amount of questions that we would need to ask to say, check the legitimacy of the degree, that the degree certificates that you are legitimate or not, your documents are legitimate or not, right? That is the one of the strong use case in the blockchain, right? A document verification, right? It could be for any industry. It could be for education. It could be for a medical record. It could be for government use cases. It could be for the business use cases, right? So you talk about the document verification. It could be one of the strongest use case. Apart from that, you talk about, let's say, like we are talking about the government records, right? So there are a lot of schemes government is rolling out, right? And you don't know, I mean, during the process, those systems, or because of the systems we are using right now, some of the things get stuck because we don't have transparency, right? So when you're talking about, let's say, some benefits to be rolled out from the government to the citizens, the blockchain can be one of the great solution. And there are a lot of use cases. I think government is already implementing. So recently we have been discussion with government of Gujarat and government of Karnataka, where we are working with them to set up the blockchain network. So they're going to roll out the various project on the blockchain itself, right? So there are industries like a government also looking for. There are industries like an educational industry. You talk about supply chain, right? Everything that we do in the supply chains requires a transparency, right? So from the inception of the product to the delivery at the end user consumer, if we want to trace out everything in and out, every step of it is a transparently available for you. Yeah, you can use a blockchain, right? So a blockchain technically can be utilized anywhere in the industries. Like you see some of the examples that we have it, right? We recently worked on one of the project with the government for the this the legitimacy of your vaccines, for example, right? So where like from the inception of the vaccine production to the patient is being managed, tracked properly or not, right? You talk about the power industry, right? There are a lot of power related challenges that we face because of the energy trading has a lot of fluctuation within it, right? When you talk about the pollution management industry like a carbon credits and etc., right? Where you don't have a transparency. So technically, the worlds where we need a transparency in each and every ecosystem of the businesses, the blockchain is the solution.
Thank you for that detailed explanation, Chintan. We have a question from Mr. Vishal in the audience. He is asking, can you please tell, as application right now, which are using blockchain tech? Well, if you could rephrase that.
Okay, so his question is which applications are using the blockchain, right? So there are tons of applications out there, right? Starting from, let's say you talk about the browser. So Bravo is one of the browser. Currently, we're using Google Chrome, right? Bravo is one of the browser which is a decentralized browser, right? There are a lot of exchanges if we talk about. So like we have a legitimate trading stock exchanges, we have a decentralized exchanges for the cryptocurrency trading. So all the exchanges out there are built over the blockchain. If you talk about the day-to-day applications, right, there are applications like a storage. So we are using Google Drive, right? So Google Drive is what a document management system. There is a system in the blockchain called IPFS, which using the blockchains, Storj, which uses the blockchain. When you talk about the operating system, like we're using iOS and Android, there are operating systems like Essential One are using the blockchain, right? If you talk about the social networks, like we are using Facebook, Twitter, which is managed by the centralized companies. Streamit is one of the platform which is utilizing, right? When you talk about, let's say, messaging platform, like so there is a platform like a WhatsApp, Telegram, etc. We have a status which is using. You talk about job industry, like Upwork is one of the platform you're using for a freelance and job stuff, right? So there is a platform called Athens. So there is a whole ecosystem which is using this sort of solutions which are already up and running. Some of them are using it without unknowingly that it's using the blockchain as a backend. Yeah.
Absolutely, I agree with you. The next question is, what is the perfect roadmap to learn blockchain?
This is wonderful. So when you start about learning a blockchain, you would should need to understand. So learning a blockchain is like a learning any solutions or the any skills that we learn, right? When you talk about when you learn any language, you'll start from alphabets, right? A to Z, right? Same way you would start learning the blockchain with the basics of blockchain, right? So what like the first question is there a lot of misconception on actually what is blockchain, right? Then you understand about the underlying technology of the blockchain and fascinating word of Bitcoin, right? How these networks operate, right? Is it really the tech part of it, or is it also the different artifacts apart from the technical perspective? What as an executive person or the layman tech person you would need to know about it, right? You would learn about the use cases of it, you would learn about the regulatory and compliance part of it, right? So you'd start with the introduction, you would go with the various use cases, what is the entire ecosystem around it, and then you would learn in the various industry how the blockchain is being utilized, starting from the finance, supply chain, healthcare, government, right? And then you deep dive into the regulatory part of it because everything that we do has to comply with the regulations, right? And then you need to understand the various case studies and the practical application. So you have a complete know-how of getting yourself started. And uh, honestly, we have a solution which is called a Bitcoin plus executive, and we have blockchain plus executive certifications. Right? You can invest like around 8 hours, and then you will be able to know everything about it with the self-paced. Or if you want to go for a, let's say a VIT mode, we have a partners who are doing those trainings as well. So the recommended part would be to start with the executive role, and then you can build on top of it the career track that you want to go for, or at least the skills that you learn you can apply in your job role as well as the industry.
So maybe Chintan, you may want to kind of use the chat box to put the website details and help people to
Absolutely.
pick
Absolutely.
their role-based certification or certifications that's available in and around blockchain.
Absolutely.
Well, moving to the next question, we have how do smart contracts differ from traditional contracts, and what are some challenges associated with their use?
Wonderful. So this is very important point. Like I mentioned, smart contracts are neither smart, neither they are contracts. So they are a programming code, right? So we are executing something on the blockchain. You're writing a business logic. So those business logics are written on the smart contract. Now, how different they are from the traditional contract? So traditional contract requires an authority and approval at the various stages. Manually go and trigger it. Smart contract does not require it. As soon as the conditions are matched, you're going to have this contract executed on the blockchain itself. Now, uh, what are the implications, you understand, right? So that when you talk about the blockchain, people see there is a scam world and everything, right? It all underlies because of this smart contract. If you're writing your smart contract not in a legitimate way, proper structured process you have not followed, and if you're not checking for the bugs which has to be done, the vulnerability and etc needs to be tested, that's where the problem starts. So the implications are, if you're writing your blockchain network smart contract and though has been tested thorough, then it has a less chances of getting malfunction and having the vulnerability. So your system may fail, or there will be an issue. So it's very important that we understand how these smart contracts are written. And there are a lot of programming languages being used, like a Solidity is one of them. If you're using private blockchain network, Hyperledger is one of the private lecture. You're using Go language, Java, Node, Python, right? But how they are written, how they have been audited, and how they intended to operate has to be tested thorough.
Perfect. I think the last question is coming up where they're saying, what are the privacy implications of using blockchain?
Wonderful. So this happens, and I think we have a various panels coming up. They are going to deep dive into this topic, but I'll give you a kickstarter. So when you talk about the blockchain, you always see the first question that do you really need a blockchain, right? When you need a blockchain, there are various types of blockchains. So you have a private blockchain, you have a public blockchain, and then you have a hybrid blockchain also, right? So which kind of use case you are working towards, you decide the blockchain is to be utilized there or not. So let's say you want to have a public use case, for example, something which is a mass is going to utilize, you're going to use a public use case. So Bitcoin is one of the use case, right? A decentralized finance. Basically, you have a centralized finance currently where banks are the big bosses. You want to create a something which is a decentralized finance. You're using the public blockchain. But let's say you have a closed group use case where couple of companies wants to introduce the network and they want to utilize it, you're going to use the private or hybrid blockchain. So depends on the use case that you would have it, blockchain you're going to utilize. Implications purely depends on the use case and the depth of the execution you want to do. If you want to have a controlled setup with the blockchain, or you want to have a publicly available setup with the blockchain, both can be taken care.
Thank you so much, Chintan. I think it was, a brilliant knowledge sharing session, and your insights are much valuable. I think I would request you to give a closing remark because we are about to, it's time to start the next session with the next speaker.
Wonderful. So this is very important that everything has to be structurally learned and thought through. So there is a lot of noise out there when you talk about the blockchain also, right? So the best way to go about is to know and learn it structurally. Understand there are a lot of misconception around the blockchain. So if you know, learn it structurally and start applying in your job role or the business, it will be helpful. And these implications and these misconceptions will go away as you start dipping deep into understanding the blockchain and how fascinating it is, right? Unknowingly, knowingly, everything which we are doing is going to go over a blockchain. Slowly and gradually the ecosystem is evolving so much, right? So my closing remarks would be that know about this technology, how it works, go structured and learn it systematically, and then start applying it. You don't need to be a techie to learn the blockchain. Technology is just one part of the blockchain. It's going to implicate us in everything that we are doing already. It has already been part of everything that we do, and including government to major organizations to small use cases have started using the blockchain. So blockchain is the way to go, I would say. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Chintan. You have a great evening ahead.
Thank you, everyone.
So here we are moving towards the episode 2 of today's blockchain webinar. So we are going to be touching upon blockchain security and cryptocurrency. So now that we have covered the basics with Mr. Chintan Ravi, let's delve into some of the complex aspects of blockchain. I'm pleased to welcome Mr. Sunil Kapadia, who will be discussing blockchain security, cryptocurrency, and legal landscape. Welcome, Sunil. So let's begin with blockchain security. Security is one of the blockchain's strongest suits. What do you think, Sunil? Sunil, I request you to unmute yourself, please.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot to unmute my
Thank
mic. So thank you, Rohini, for the introduction and all. So the question around security is why security, or what sort of protocols, or what differs in blockchain around the security world. So the main thing in the security world is immutability. So blockchain is powered by, you can say, mathematics, complex mathematics, but simple and pure mathematics and nothing else. And that's why this entire technology is governed around the mathematics in a way that once you write something over blockchain, it cannot be rewritten. That means it cannot be changed. So once you are like, it's that famous Salman Khan dialogue of a movie. I will not repeat that, but it is something like that. That once I commit something onto blockchain, I'll not be able to change anything. And that is the best part of blockchain, where this was utilized after Bitcoin. Since Bitcoin was just a, you can say, matter of cryptocurrency, where the entire world was talking about making money, while the guy called Vitalik Buterin, and he came up with an idea of programmable blockchain. And here we are utilizing blockchain in every aspect of life.
Absolutely, I can't agree with you more. Well, I think it's important to discuss a little bit about cryptocurrency. So, cryptocurrency is perhaps the most well-known application of blockchain. Could
Right.
you explain how cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and Ethereum work within the blockchain framework?
So initially in 2013, if you remember, before 2013, the birth of Bitcoin, the entire world went through a very, very economic trouble, or a longer economic down. And I mean, economies were down across the globe, and we had too many problems around economics. So somebody had an idea around how to, you can say, bifurcate the problems in a way that the central authority is not the only one who has the power to do all these things, or maybe power in a couple of people, or maybe a group of people. So a paper was written by Satoshi Nakamoto around this digital currency, and that based on that paper, somebody released a platform called Bitcoin, right, where people started to trade. And then they realized that, but the point was, at that time also, the point was, there is no background of this technology. Like, means, let's say if I buy a share from a company, I know that what that company does. So here also there was the same question, that okay, it's cryptocurrency, we understand that, but then why the value? Because I know the gold has standards, gold has value, silver has value, but then why crypto has value? So that's how the entire mathematics came into picture. They started to, then people started to understand the mechanisms behind it, and eventually Bitcoin got the price elevation. And currently, even Till today, Bitcoin has the largest or the highest amount of price in the world, in the cryptocurrency world. But then it is just cryptocurrency. Like, okay, I can trade, we can go to market, we can buy, let's say the first transaction happened to buy a pizza and all. So today also we can do the same thing. But then somebody realized the potential of this technology in the pure way. And that gave birth to first programmable blockchain in 2018, right? And that actually opened the doors which our previous speaker talked about, how various facets of human life are getting affected by blockchain. So that particular 2018, that opened the door for us, where we saw, sorry, 13, where we saw that the birth of programmable blockchain. So Bitcoin, after Bitcoin, there is a new cryptocurrency in the market called Ethereum. Now, how Ethereum is different, Ethereum also you can trade like Bitcoin, the BTC, and over here it called Ether, but it allowed you to even interact with the blockchain, the capacity of blockchain, immutability, transparency, security, and all the other technical jargons of blockchain in a way that in order to do a transaction, as our speaker said, that decentralization, right? So where in centralization you are paying. Until today, if you are having a credit card from a bank, you are supposed to pay some money for the entire year if you are using the credit card. If you don't reach to a limit, you are going to pay that money. If you reach to that limit, you are not going to pay that money. That means irrespective of your usage, you are going to pay the money. In this case, you are going to pay only what you use. So basically pay what you use. So a transaction you are writing, but in the form of a cryptocurrency. In Ethereum, you can utilize the Ethereum cryptocurrency to write a transaction apart from just trading like Bitcoin. So that's how these two worlds are completely different. When Bitcoin started, it was like against, I'm taking little bit time, but this is important. So it was like consensus mechanism, which is a core part of security. That also was called against energy, against earth and all. That's how Ethereum and every other blockchain platform, which are, you can say now, the kids of Bitcoin, those don't use those kind of consensus mechanisms, making a wonderful world around us. So practically Bitcoin is just for trading, while Ethereum is trading plus programming.
Amazing. This is so insightful, and I think you just made it so easy for a layman to understand what it really means. So, moving ahead, I think as cryptocurrencies gain popularity on one side, what do you think some of the legal and regularity challenges that businesses and users should be aware of?
Right. So see, cryptocurrency has two aspects. One, programming, where you don't need to worry about anything, but the other world is about trading. So in the countries like us, where we have seen, say, various problems across the years, 70, 75 years, right? Since last we have been facing these problems. So we have a typical act around money laundering, which is like AML or rather PMLA Act and all. So basically all these things, government is trying to protect the hawalas, right? The illegal transactions of money. Now, why cryptocurrency has this issue is because cryptocurrency has no no father, you can say. I mean, nobody knows exactly who has released this. Like till today, nobody knows that who released Bitcoin in the world, right? Okay, it is automated, it is completely controlled via the millions of miners across the globe. That's fine, but there is no one authority to negotiate on anybody's behalf, right? So the point is, over there in the cryptocurrency world, where you transact something, you are anonymous, right? And being that anonymous gives you power, while it gives you or adds some risks also. Like, very simple example, even today you are using some UPI, right? Some UPI application, you are transacting and your transaction fails. What do? You initiate a chat. Okay, you go to that particular website and then you initiate a chat, you give the transaction number, and then you expect that money either to be returned within some amount of time. And what here, whom do you contact? Right? So there is a separate challenge over here. So now government also, like, they want to protect our money as well as our security and our nation security also. So that government also has not taken yet a clear cut stand on how the trading or how everything has to happen in blockchain. But similarly, they also don't want to prohibit any kind of innovation. So if you are in development, you are allowed to develop, no problem. But if you are in trading, there are certain licenses you have to take from the government. Even we have our own exchange, CoinDCX, like there is a pretty decent exchange in our country, and you can even do whatever trading you want to do. So, but there are certain aspects of it like on ramp, off ramp you have to use, and then eventually you can utilize. So, countries like us, they have to, where there are security issues around this world, we have to take special care about, are we allowing the cryptocurrencies to, like anybody can release a currency in my backyard, in my garage. Okay, I want to release a cryptocurrency, or it should be backed by a proper white paper. It should be like you can say given certificates or whatever it is by the finance ministry and all, so that it is, they are not in the business of controlling your you can say money and everything, but they are in the business of protecting us, right, being the citizens of our country. And that's how the government will also take a stand. I mean, if you read a newspaper, the paper from Niti Aayog, and they around 2020, I guess, they have written an entire paper around how blockchain can be utilized to, you can say, for the progress of our country. So government is clear, they want to support. It is just that in these areas they want to take a little bit, you can say,
The,
what is a
like a
patient step. Yeah, patient step,
precaution.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's amazing. So, I mean, do you think there is any risk using public Wi-Fi for cryptocurrency transactions?
Public Wi-Fi, anyways, I'm against of it. Any kind of public Wi-Fi, you should not use it. If your phone has any kind of financial transactions within your phone, you are doing it, then you should avoid any kind of airport Wi-Fi's, any kind of free mall Wi-Fi's, any kind of road or any kind of Wi-Fi. You should avoid. Period. So for transactions, definitely not. Why? Because your cryptocurrency transactions are controlled by your private key signatures, which you need to apply before doing any transaction over blockchain. If by any chance that leaks out, then you are in trouble. Then nobody in the world can help you, and you will lose all your money and everything. So because this is the only chink in the blockchain armor, that if you lose your private key or if it gets like some in trouble, you are in deep trouble. So public Wi-Fi you should definitely not use at any point of time, in especially in blockchain trading.
Absolutely. Thank you for that suggestion. I think the world must watch out now. Well, I think there is also a concept of cold storage, you know. So cold storage protect cryptocurrency is what I've heard. So can you just elaborate a little bit about this
So there
concept?
are two kinds of wallets basically. So similarly, let's say you keep the money in your home, right? And you keep the money in your pocket. Now, pocket is mobile. So anybody moving on the road can snatch it from you and you will lose your money. So what will you do? You will put it in your home. So that is your cold storage step number one. Now in your home also, let's say you are staying in a society where there are no CCTVs, there is no security and all, and you are worried that okay, if somebody comes like some thieves and all, then my money also gets stolen. Then what do? Okay, then we'll let us go to bank. Let us put our money in a locker. So that is your cold storage step number two. So over here also, when we talk about wallets, now wallet is the, you can say, medium to enter the world of blockchain. Without wallets, you cannot do any transactions and all. Now wallet has two parts, public key and private key. Now these needs to be secured. And that's why soft wallet, basically software based wallets, which are, you can operate from your Google Chrome or any kind of browser. And then the wallets, which are basically, you can say, maybe in the pen drive, maybe you have stored it somewhere, the private key, which is not connected on the network, and you are utilizing those services. So the most used format around trading is a hardware wallet, which basically looks like a USB drive, which you can plug in into your system. It doesn't interact with the operating system. It has its own interface. It just uses the internet to do all the things. It transfers your whatever trading you want to do, and you can just plug it out and you are done. And since this is operated by the companies like Tezos and all, you can, I guess, if something happens to your hardware wallet, they can also support you in order to restore, or in order to have, if it gets defective, then a newer device and all. But if you are a hardcore trader, or if you want to do that only, I'll prefer hardware wallet only and nothing else, no software wallets, because there are high chances of getting into trouble around those wallets.
Thank you, Sunil. It's clear what while blockchain offers many opportunities, it also comes with challenges.
Yes.
Let's open the floor to questions about blockchain
Sure.
security, cryptocurrency, and the regularity landscape.
Sure.
Well, I think the first question is around given the decentralization nature of blockchain, how can we ensure that the network remains secure from cyber attacks?
So, see, in blockchain world, the protocol level security is different, and your smart contract level security is different. It is similar to like you are operating on a bank, and the bank has its own security. But even moving towards or going towards bank, you have to have your own security if you are carrying a large amount of cash. So in blockchain, the primary attack, if you want to rewrite a block which is already written into blockchain and you want to update some information, you have to attack the network. You cannot attack the person who is going to bank, or basically the person who is trying to carry a transaction. So in those cases, what happens is the network, now every network in the world of blockchain, it is called everything runs on majority. So it is two-third majority we talk about, right? In our democratic world also, it is two-third majority if you want to have any kind of decision. So in this world, when you want to change, you have to change the records in 51% of blocks. So all these kinds of attacks always happen on the network when the information they want is to be changed, they want to rewrite something. But if they want to transfer, then it's a separate story altogether. But the primarily is they want to update the network first. Second, they want to disrupt the network. That means I'm a hacker and I just like to disrupt things. So what I'll do is I'll keep on just trying to change, trying to attack the network, trying to attack to rewrite the blocks and everything around that, and without even worrying about what will happen to millions of people's money and everything, I'll just do that. So there are two, three kinds of, and there are plenty of kinds of attacks possible on any kind of blockchain network, but mainly it is like this one. Then this orphan attack and some uncle attack, and there are plenty of different attacks which happen over the blockchain network. But the primarily is the security at network level at hand gets handled at consensus mechanism level. So at that level, network has to manage this one on their own.
Got it. I think a very good response to that question, I must say. Well, the next question is about the difference between smart contract security breach and network level security breach.
Yeah, so as I told you, there are two kinds of security breaches are possible. One, I already explained that network level security breach happens at the network protocol level, how the system is deployed, if the Docker level or any kind of other security breach is possible. But the smart contract level also gets affected by the security issues. As I said, that if you are carrying large amount of money and if you are going to bank, right, and in between if somebody tries to steal that money from you, it is your responsibility to make it secure. So in this case also, if you are doing a transaction on blockchain, it is your responsibility to make the private key secure. I mean, one of a very popular platforms unfortunately opened up the entire set of private keys for all the users, and they were in deep trouble. And for half a day, the entire network was down, and there was a huge amount of uproar in the world. But the challenge was they rectified the error and they solved it. But the challenge was to keep the private keys secure. So the smart contract level security challenges are: first is your users, ask them to keep their wallets or private keys very secure. Second thing is you don't end up into having any kind of code which can open the doors for hackers, right? So regular hacking, regular cyber security principles are all allowed. The most important part of any smart contract is smart contracts don't allow API integration. So that means that particular kind of attack is out of question. But since it is a public blockchain network, it is decentralized. You can see the any contract's ABI, which is a blueprint of contract, and you can manipulate if there is a bug in the system. So as our speaker Chintan said, you have to test 200% before moving to market of your smart contracts as well as the network you are deploying. Why? Because the network has its own issues, and you have to see that those issues don't affect your smart contracts.
Got it. Thank you so much for that explanation, Sunil. So, the last question is what are some of the major regularity challenges business face when dealing with cryptocurrencies?
So the most important regularity aspect of it, this one is we need to have sandbox environment. So the primary use case of cryptocurrency was trading, right? We all know that we love to earn money. Everybody loves to earn money, and trading is the easiest way to do that, especially in cryptocurrency where Bitcoin even touched 65,000 USD. Now imagine if you have 10 Bitcoins only, that's a huge amount of money for Indians, right? So the challenge over here is the cross-border payments. Now, till today, if you want to send some money from here to Australia, to US, to some other country, and even to receive from there is a fees on both the sides. Both the banks charge the money. From here, I'll go to my bank. My bank will go to some other bank, which is an intermediary bank, which has some branch in the recipient country's bank. So they will receive the money, and then it will reflect in the recipient's account. Now, this is a long process. So normally it takes couple of days, or maybe one day, or more than a one day. So imagine where you are sending the money in this way. If you are using Bitcoin, it can reflect only in 10-15 minutes. If you are using Ethereum, maybe even less than that. If you are using Algorand or some other platform, it is even less than that. So the point is the time is reduced, right? The cross-border payment time is reduced. But then it opened up a very serious security problem also, where the money originated and where it landed, nobody knows. So cross-border payments had to be regularized. Government, as I said again, no government wants to stop this kind of thing, but no government can take any kind of security issue coming from this kind of transactions, right? So the point is, when we talk about this kind of situation where regularity bodies and all, like I say, I stayed Ahmedabad, so we have gift city nearby town, and they also have the sandbox environment where you can test your contracts, whatever you have deployed, with government bodies, so that you don't stuck up into any kind of regularity issues from government, maybe some other government and all, and everything is ready again from that perspective, that you can initiate your whatever you want to do. The challenge is, are you ready to take that first step? Have you tested everything on your own and all? So regularization of these things is in progress. Government is taking necessary steps. It is just that sometimes we know, sometimes we don't. But yeah, in a year or two, this all will be cleared out.
That's awesome. I think it's good to know that we are progressing each day, right? I think we're
Yes,
refining
yes,
uh,
yes,
towards a
yes.
better world, I would say.
Yep.
Well, I think we have just one last question that's come up. Since
Yeah,
we have the time with you, Sunil, I want to ask you this. In
sure.
private blockchain, so is private blockchain security better or public blockchain?
Yeah. So see, there are three kinds of, or rather four kinds of blockchain in the world. Now, everybody, since I've been to, you can say, programming world since last 16 years. So every time my clients come to me and they ask me that, Sunil, we want to integrate blockchain. So my always first question is, do you need blockchain? First of all, it is just because it's a buzzword around the globe since last 10, 11 years you want to introduce, or do you actually need? So blockchain also started with public, while the entire motive of having blockchain as a technology was to voice the voiceless, right? To empower everybody. We also use blockchain. Recently, we used blockchain. Yes, in the elections. Yes, it was a decentralized one. Why? Every single citizen of our country had the same power to vote to select the government. Pure form of decentralization. So, in that use case, public blockchain fits where mass is going to use your application, where you are going to secure the information by giving that information to everybody in an encrypted way, that it can be verified but cannot be revealed without my key, but it can be verified. That means my information is safe and nobody is going to change. Same way, if I, let's say, if I have some certificate, some government certificate, and I'm going to get some money from government, and if that certificate is forged by someone else, and they will get the benefits and not me, right? So these kind of things cannot happen. But let's say you are running a manufacturing company, Rohini, and you are making a product. Will you put your company's internal transactions on blockchain for the entire world to see? No. That gives birth to private blockchain, where you can use the blockchain as a core, but you can say you can limit the exposure to the blockchain, and it will be across all your users who are authenticated and not anonymous users. In public blockchain, there are anonymous users. In private, there are completely known users to the system. There is third kind of blockchain framework, which is hybrid. So since if you are using a private blockchain framework, then what it becomes? It becomes your own database, your glorified database only, right? If people will say, even if because of that reason, people, even hardcore blockchain experts, they don't consider private blockchain as blockchain. They just consider it DLT, distributed ledger technology. So for that reason, what they come up with an idea called hybrid blockchain. So some transactions are recorded on your private, and the hashes of those transactions are written on public. So information is secured now because it is with public, but the information source is now hidden completely. So that gave birth to a hybrid network where government or most of the enterprise level organizations, they believe in hybrid environment. Fourth is a consortium kind of blockchain, which is basically R3 Corda and all. So as I told you that blockchain or this bit currency, cryptocurrency is used for cross-border payments. So over there, multiple banks are involved. So you need a consortium across all these banks and all. And that's why consortium, basically kind of blockchain network which deals with multiple organizations, creates a consortium, and they you can say design the rules or regulations in the smart contract, and there it can be then deployed, again kind of a public, but deployed and controlled by a group of companies. So there are four different kinds of blockchain frameworks currently existing in the world.
Thank you so much, Sunil. I think your presentation was exceptional. I think it
Thank
was
you.
clear, insightful, and deeply engaging as well.
Thank you.
Well, I think I would request you to just give a closing note for today,
Yes.
and we can then move on to the episode 3.
Sure. So see, basically, when people start about blockchain, if you ask me, it's almost 11 or 12 years now, and still I have to explain what is blockchain. This technology has faced the most amount of friction in the world in comparison to any other technology in the world. Why? I always like a statement about blockchain is that people consider blockchain is a magic bullet which can kill werewolf and vampires both. It doesn't. So it solves problems, but it is not a magic bullet which can solve every problem in the world. So the most important part of working in blockchain is you need to understand that whether this particular use case requires blockchain or not. If it is required, or if it requires blockchain, then at what level the blockchain is required. So previously we had MVC level architectures. Now we have MVCB, which is known as Model View Controller and blockchain. So over there, you can add the blockchain layer, or you can have a BaaS, which is called blockchain as a service, right? We have IaaS, PaaS, but now we have BaaS, which is called blockchain as a service. And this also you need to keep in mind while designing a blockchain solution. Apart from all the securities which we have just discussed, you have to keep while designing a solution, while even suggesting to your client, even having an idea of your own, and you want to build a product around that. So how to do that from test networks to main networks, how to see, how to improvise the security levels, how to scale, and selection of the platform basically makes the whole lot easier of your, you can say, journey. And the selection of platform, sorry, you have to select a platform based on the blockchain is able to solve the blockchain trifecta or not, the three problems which blockchain world faces: the complete decentralization, security, and scalability. If a blockchain platform is capable of doing all these things, then you should go ahead with that in order to utilize the smart contracts and the capacities of blockchain. So that's all I can say about the experience I have gathered around 8 years of blockchain development.
I must say, I think the insights were almost enlightening and truly impactful. I'm sure
Thank you.
our audience will gain a whole lot of knowledge with your presentation today, Sunil. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
So we'll probably now it's time to move towards the episode 3 of today's session, that is around blockchain in business and future trends. So for our final episode, we'll focus on how blockchain is shaping the future of business. Please join me in welcoming Yash Sharma. who will guide us through the blockchain's impact on business and future technological trends. Welcome, Yash. Over to you. Thank you.
Uh, Thanks, Rohini, and thank you all. I'm thrilled to be a part of this session. I'm always looking for opportunities to promote uh, emerging tech as far as possible, and blockchains happen to be one of my favorite technologies that I've been working on the past 6 or 7 years. Um, and it is, at the outset, I'll say it is one of the emerging technologies that's really easy to learn from, let's say, uh, the array of technologies out there. You've got AI, quantum computing, edge computing, so many different technologies competing for attention, which is one of the reasons why I've associated myself with this tech. And from building applications to architecting applications to also being a part of sales conversations around blockchain projects, I've had this unique experience to be a part of almost everything. So typically from conceptualization of a project to how it's deployed and then sold to a client and then ultimately maintained. I have this unique view of end-to-end blockchain solutioning. So I'll be happy to take you forward. My objective for today again is not to give you like a deep dive. Obviously, we do not have enough time to do that, but to get you interested and to encourage you to explore more in this fascinating technology and possibly make a career out of it or um, choose it as a stream to explore further.
Amazing, Yash. I think we'll talk a little bit about developing blockchain solution if it requires specific tools and platforms. Can you tell us about some of the key tools businesses are using to implement blockchain today?
All right. So, I mean, that question can take hours, or I could just give it 2 minutes, but I'll take the middle ground. There has been a context set already, Rohini, when Sunil mentioned the 4 different kinds of blockchains. So, at the outset, as someone who's looking to technically involve themselves in blockchain projects, there are two categories in which blockchains get divided. One is private blockchains, and the other is public blockchains. Public blockchains are the ones that you hear about most often: Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the other trading tokens out there. You must have heard of chains like Solana because there was a crash earlier. You must have heard of chains like Dogecoin, chains like Litecoin. All of them are separate blockchains. They are public blockchains because you can participate in that blockchain network without having any eligibility. They are meant for public. So today, if I want to own Bitcoins, uh, I don't have to submit a form. I don't have to create a KYC or complete a KYC process, which is the reason why they're called public blockchains. And Ethereum and Bitcoin are again two splits between public blockchains, where Bitcoin is more focused on building ledgers which look similar to banks. Bitcoin is very similar to a bank itself, but it doesn't do anything beyond a bank. Ethereum, on the other hand, and again, uh, there was a mention of this in the earlier discussions as well. Ethereum is meant for smart contracts. You can trade ethers and you can deposit ethers and withdraw ethers, which is like the Bitcoin nature of Ethereum, but it's got this whole other section where you can build smart contracts, really, really innovative smart contracts like NFTs and uh, fungible tokens, trade exchanges, all of them. So that's the public blockchain aspect of it. It's meant for public. Um, not going deeper into it, but I mean, because it's public, there are pros and cons of both of there are two sides of it. One is that anyone can participate, including people whom we do not want to participate, like people who want to defraud the system or want to do terrorist financing or drugs or whatever. But at the same time, it's so free that it's almost idyllic. Anyone, like free speech, anyone can say anything. So free currency, anyone can own it. So that's public blockchains for you. The other end of the spectrum is private blockchains. Although Sunil said 4 blockchains, which is actually true, but it's a spectrum again. I mean, various other, in between milestones as well. Private blockchains are ones that are meant for companies or consortiums or private groups, trusts, even countries, where I mean you don't just participate. Like I said with Bitcoin, you have to have some sort of an eligibility that you pass through before you're able to be a part of that chain network. So I'm not going to define what it means to be a part of the network, but let's just assume that you can transact with it. Just like you have to have an account with a bank to transact. On Bitcoin, you need to have an account to transact. Similarly, you need to have accounts on private blockchains, and they're not so easy to have when it comes to private. So let's assume that IBM as a company is running a private blockchain. None of us can just log into that blockchain. Only IBM authorized folks with right eligibilities and authorizations, they can participate. So there is this categorization, private, public, and each one of these blockchains bring with themselves their own tooling. So when I say tooling, what I mean is support software, capabilities, testing tools, audit tools, all of the array or arena or ecosystem of capabilities that you can use to partake in that blockchain. So when I say partake, again, you can be participating in various ways as a miner, as a developer. So earlier we talked about miners. Miners are folks who become a part of the blockchain to run and gain incentive. Um, won't go beyond that because again, it's a big topic. So when it comes to public blockchains, the most important component or tool that you must be familiar with is the wallet. We spoke about that earlier. Wallet lets you transact. Wallet houses your private credentials using which you are able to authorize transactions. So earlier Sunil mentioned private key signatures. That's exactly what wallets help you do. They help you sign just like you sign checks in a bank because you know your signatures. Having a private key kind of proves that you are the authorized person to use your Bitcoins or use your Ethers or Dogecoins or whatever. So wallet is that capability. As someone who's just going to use blockchains, it's enough to know what wallets do. But as a developer, there is again a very complicated and wide array of tools one must be familiar with. First is, so obviously as a developer, you would be building smart contracts. On Bitcoin, which is like, which doesn't really support smart contracts, there's not a lot you can do as a developer. But on Ethereum, with its smart contract capabilities, some amazing stuff can be done. You have this whole area called decentralized finance. You can build lending applications. You can build management applications. You can build trading applications. So as a developer, when you want to build it, you need tools like um, Remix or Hard Hat or Truffle. So I don't want you to note all of these down. You'll have to ultimately, when you get to it seriously, you'll find these out. But these are the tools that will help you build contracts, test them, debug them, uh, deploy them, and then finally release them. So all of these different tools that I mentioned, they help you do this end to end. Similar capabilities exist on private blockchain side as well. So the most popular private blockchain out there is Hyperledger. Sunil mentioned that. Hyperledger brings with itself. So The tooling is slightly different when it comes to private blockchain because it's meant for companies. Companies don't really care much about user convenience. They want transactions to be faster. They want benchmarks to be met. They want better security when it comes to user authorization and eligibility. So there are tools like, so when it comes to Hyperledger, a very important tool is 𝗘𝘅𝗲𝗃. Helps you check performance of transactions. There was a question earlier around which private versus public, which blockchain has higher security. So one thing to understand with public blockchains is that they work in a very complicated environment. When it comes to Bitcoin, at one point in time, Bitcoin is attacked by a lot of different hackers. Even right now, it's getting attacked as we speak. Maybe some hacker in North Korea is trying to steal your wallet. Maybe some Chinese hackers are trying to uh, launch 51% attack, maybe. So it's called an adversarial environment. They have Bitcoin or any public blockchain has to operate in this. So the security has to be higher. The consensus mechanism has to operate in an environment where it can tolerate such attacks. And right at the outset, when Bitcoin was being conceptualized, and this is where the ingenuity of blockchains come in. They already envisaged, whoever actually thought of Bitcoin, they already envisaged the situation that Bitcoin is going to be constantly getting attacked. So by design, Bitcoin supports a consensus mechanism that cannot be hacked. So we can reasonably, with fair amount of confidence, say Bitcoin till now, or most of the public blockchains till now have not been hacked. All the hacking stories you hear are maybe a private keys getting stolen, exchanges not putting right amount of securities around your credentials. So that's like saying you lost your password, your email password, and you want to blame Gmail for that, right? So as a technology, blockchain is very secure. It continues to be secure, and it's going to stay secure till the time quantum computing somehow is able to break, and that's not happening in the near future. So from a tooling standpoint, again, it's a very fast moving ecosystem. So a lot of new tools. So very recently within this year, there were tools in the Ethereum ecosystem that uh, helped one build an entire decentralized application, which was not something that was possible 2-3 years back. You have to build it separately and then run the whole thing in a single tool. So tools like Foundry, tools like Moralis, capabilities like scaffold-𝗃, you'll encounter all of them when you either look at Ethereum, or there are some specific tools for the private blockchain palette as well. All of them, as a developer, you'll have to be conversant with, and they'll help you because they're built in such a way, and blockchain now is around 15 years old as a story. So these tools have matured. So just learning the tool will get you enough information about blockchains to build you like a reasonably good developer. I would encourage you to, so we here at Netcom Learning and AI CERTs also keep an eye on for all these tools that are out there and our content that we ship with trainings. They're constantly revamped with these tools. So would encourage you to look at all of the content that's out there, especially shipped by us. And that's going to give you like the latest and greatest information about the tools. So I'll stop here. I want to give it back to Rohini for any comments or questions about that.
Yeah, sure. I think the key takeaway is for people to always keep, skilling themselves and upskilling themselves and learning what's happening. Since you just mentioned it's a fast-moving ecosystem, I'm sure every day you'll have something new getting upgraded. So it's the key is to kind of just keep yourself, in line with what's happening with the technology. So, looking forward, Yash, what are some of the future trends in blockchain that businesses and professionals should be aware of?
Okay, this is my favorite question because I keep looking for all the research that goes on,
Yeah.
primarily because uh, research is what basically drives. Um, so when it comes to emerging tech, and this is more of a statement around all technologies than anything specific to blockchains. Uh, if you want to stay up to date, the place to look for is the research papers that are being published around that topic. If you are, let's say, a database or data science person, then um, obviously you'll read all the books, and it's a given that you'll be fairly conversant with the industry trends. But industry trends are not where all the action is. Research is where the action is, because that's going to become industry trend tomorrow. Um, Coming back to um, some of the innovation that's happening in blockchain right now as a proposition. The most interesting thing is layer 2, although layer 2 is an old story now. But what layer 2 means is um, it is a solution to a very old and pressing problem that blockchains face. The reason why, and Sunil mentioned the friction that this technology faces, one of the primary reasons why that friction exists is because you have to pay heavily for interacting or transacting with the blockchain. Just to digress a little bit, to anyone who wants to like cut through the chase and understand what really blockchains are, they're nothing beyond a database. And I'm saying that with full honesty because it's been made so daunting and so confusing with a lot of different things around there that somebody with fair amount of database experience, if you tell them that it's just a database, then a very obvious question is then why all the fanfare around all of these companies building blockchain, and you know what is the hoopla all about, right? The only thing that blockchains do is they build that database in such a way that it can be immutable. Now, how it's made immutable is a separate question, but there's nothing beyond that. You're building a database that by design cannot be changed historically. Is that such a big thing? Maybe, maybe not, but it was missing before blockchains. Before blockchains, any database entry that you make can be changed with no trace. With blockchains, there is a trace. We call it tamper evidence. You'll hear the term tamper resistance, which is actually not very accurate. The right term to use is tamper evident. Whenever you change something in the blockchain, it becomes very evident. And then there are remedial measures that, if you've not made that change according to the rules of the protocol, then it just gets discarded. So that's what blockchains offer. Now, with this simple proposition, how can businesses use it? So I'll split the answer into two parts. One part is the innovation bit, which I'll get to. But from utility standpoint, let's say if I am running a business that is um, a very small part of a very big supply chain. Let's say I'm a logistics operator. Blockchains cannot help me. I mean, I should not even think about it. But if I am a big consortium of supply chain operators, let's say operators from China, um, operators from Japan, let's cover the whole Southeast Asia, then blockchains are going to give me advantages beyond um, any known solution that I can implement. The reason is that in such a big ecosystem with diverse regulations, with different types of systems that have to talk to each other. So if you import something from, let's say, China to US, it has to go, and let's say it's being shipped to actual ships that travel overseas. You'll have to go through so many regulations, checks, different kind of systems, documents, that it becomes a project. It's a huge project, and there is an industry that runs that project. The shipping industry actually runs on maintaining records and documents and complying and approving with everything that has to happen during transit. Can I build a single database that can operate from source to destination and then disrupt this entire industry? Blockchain technically can, because it's going to build a record system that's going to be transparent. It's going to be immutable. Different people can, when I say people, what I mean it with like uh, very loose definition. Different entities, from logistics service providers to custom authorities to shipping companies, all of them can operate with each other on this backbone kind of a database. Then the advantages are going to be huge, because a lot of money gets spent on delays because of these impedances between different regulations, custom authorities requesting something, and there's delay and approval, and the bank is not sending you letter of credit, and so many other things happen. So this is all wasteful. So if an IBM and some of the other big players out there, they've tried to solve this problem to some extent. Myers, which is a shipping company, sponsors blockchains for supply chains. So they are able to pilot, and so even implementing something like this is a very big task, but they are able to pilot and prove the advantages that come with such a system at a large scale. So me or one custom maybe business operator in any kind of a value delivery, not just supply chain, let's say warehousing, let's say healthcare, where value delivery is healthcare. All of them at a large scale get benefited by systems like blockchain. Now, with such systems, a lot of transactions are going to happen, a lot of reads are going to happen to the database. The primary problem that blockchain faces is each transaction has to pay for the sponsor or the node that's running that blockchain. In a bank, when you deposit or you transfer money, you pay some sort of service amount or something gets paid, right? Over here in blockchains, it gets paid to the miner. Miner is the one who's running a node that's going to help you, operate your blockchain. I mean, there's a lot more to it, but I'll not go beyond that. So layer 2, which I mentioned earlier, tries to solve this problem by batching transactions together. So that if one transaction costs $40, you group 1,000 transactions and then send them in one go. That also is going to cost $40. So the saving is huge. This is what layer 2 does. It does it in various ways, and there are a lot of innovations that are happening, especially related to zero knowledge proofs, which I'll talk about again in a bit. But layer 2 is one future technology to look out for. It's there with Bitcoin as well. It's there with Ethereum. Mostly all public blockchains are benefiting from there. There are 100 to 200 blockchains right now that look like Ethereum that are operating on top of Ethereum as batches, groups of transactions getting sent to Ethereum just to distribute the cost of a transaction. So that's layer 2. Then you've got another innovation that's called cross bridging. Now, what does cross bridging mean? Today, let's say if I'm an investor and I suddenly hear about cryptocurrency being a very promising instrument of investment, and I want to spend money, I want to buy crypto, sell crypto, become a millionaire. My options are bewildering. I can choose from Bitcoin to 1,500 other cryptocurrencies and tokens out there. So how do I kind of make sense of it? And the reason why this array of options exists is because there are different frameworks. Bitcoin is its own network, Ethereum is its own network, Dogecoin is its own network. And till now, we've not had a way in which these networks can talk to each other. Which means if I have Bitcoin and I want to buy, let's say, ethers. So today I have to go to a crypto exchange where there are two transactions. I sell my Bitcoin, get some dollars, use those dollars to buy Ether. Can I shortcut that transaction to keep it between blockchains? That's what cross bridging or cross chain transactions are. How does it work? I'll not get into that, but that's another innovation. If successful, right now there are cross bridging solutions out there, but as a user, it's too involved, as in I have to bridge myself. If I'm an investor and I don't care about technology, it's like a confusing thing. The target state, I won't even know that I'm bridging. My Bitcoins can buy me anything because all blockchains are able to talk to each other. But that's not what's happening right now. At some point in future, we'll standardize cross bridging to such an extent that it will become seamless. And that's going to drive a lot of interest because one of the major challenges is so many options. So you've got layer 2, you've got bridging. Metaverse used to be an interesting sort of innovation, but it's lost a little bit of steam. I'll not go into that much. Another thing is identity management. Um, and identity management to blockchains is kind of pretty easy with the wallet solution. The only thing is that the identity is just a private key. So to extend that, we have this concept of credentials that are hooked up to your identity in a typical wallet. And with verifiable credentials, what happens is you can define your identity at a more granular level. You can say, I'm Yash Sharma, so and so age, so and so country, so and so date of birth, whatever. So that becomes your identity cross different systems if you use verifiable credentials alongside blockchains. A lot of cryptography that's involved. Linked to this is another innovation called zero knowledge proof, where and this is the interesting part because I'm doing projects day in day out around this. Zero knowledge proofs allow you to reveal your knowledge about something without revealing that particular thing. Let's say if I am looking to tell you that I know the password to my bank account. Today with regular, information systems out there, I'll have to tell you what the password is. You can probably test it. So as a verifier, I'll have to give you that information. Zero knowledge proof lets you reveal the fact that I know the password without revealing the password itself. So how cool is that? It's got, direct implications are on privacy of data. And a corollary to that is selective disclosures. Let's say I want to reveal what my, let's say I want to prove that I'm above 18. Then today I have to reveal my date of birth. Should there be a system where I can selectively say, hey, I'm above 18 because this system is going to prove that, but I don't need to tell you my actual date of birth. So such granularity of checks is possible with zero knowledge proof. So these three are innovations that I'm following. Along with that, you'll hear about homomorphic encryption. It's another interesting field, but I'll not go into it. I'll let you Google or chat GPT, whichever you're comfortable with. So most of the innovation is being borrowed by cryptography world. And I would recommend, if you want to seriously get into blockchains, understand a little bit of cryptography, at least digital signatures. The more the better. If you understand it in depth, that's great. But I'll again stop here. I tend to rant. This is like the top 3 technologies to look out for. Over to you, Rohini.
Thank you so much for your patience in explaining each terminology in detail. Yash, it's very educative. The future of blockchain certainly looks promising to me with endless possibilities for innovation, I could say. Let's open up to the questions about blockchain and business development tools and future trends. We do have one question which says, can you please tell us as application right now which are using blockchain tech? I'm not too sure if you got that question right. I would repeat this. Can you please tell us an application right now which are using blockchain tech?
So a couple of applications were mentioned by Chintan earlier. So pick up any domain and you'll find at least 7 or 8 projects that are using blockchains and trying to integrate. Uh, so if we want to talk about healthcare, there's MediChain. Um, if you talk about supply chain, there's IBM TradeLens, their flagship supply chain solution. If you want to talk about um, banking, banking has Quorum. Quorum, I think now it's not so popular, but Quorum used to be, and R3 Corda. These two blockchains were specifically meant for financial transactions, settlement, and recon within banks. Um, what other applications? So I mean, there are a lot of applications that you might not have heard of. There are uh, mostly modules. So when it comes to blockchains, Polygon is building an array of solutions on the core Polygon technology. Like Polygon ID is using Polygon tech to build verifiable credentials, something that I would encourage you to look at. They are also building decentralized exchanges that are built as smart contracts on blockchains as an out-of-the-box solution on Polygon blockchains. There are so many NFTs out there. All of them actually use blockchain. So although NFTs have kind of lost a little bit of interest, but as a technology, they still have a lot of application, not as trading instruments, but as technology. So specifically, just an application or basically that are using blockchain. There are so many wallets out there that actually interact with blockchains. MetaMask is one of them. Trust Wallet is the other. Coinbase Wallet. Um, so all of them have to depend either on blockchains or use blockchain for their operations.
Got it. Thanks, Yash. I think the last question for today is, what do you think are the most promising future trends in blockchain technology that businesses should be aware of?
Hmm. So integration of blockchain with uh, IoT devices. There is a blockchain platform that's actually fairly old, IOTA. They had a good idea where they thought that all of the IoT devices should be integrated using a backbone blockchain. Um, but there are some security concerns around that. A lot of effort is going into addressing that. Then one thing that you have to understand is blockchain is not a new technology. It is not even an evolution in an existing technology. It is just a combination of different technologies. So if I talk about, let's say I want to write a book on blockchains, right? There are just 3 technologies or 3 chapters that I need to have. First, digital or cryptographic hashes. Just understand hashes, how they work. Second is digital signatures. And third is distributed computing or peer-to-peer networks. That's it. Which is why I keep saying that it's really easy to learn. If you know these 3 things, you're good. You're golden actually. So look out for innovations. What I usually do, and I do this like every other day, maybe sometimes twice in one day, is I look at research papers. Look at research papers around homomorphic encryption in blockchains. Look at research papers around faster zero knowledge proof systems. Look at research papers around Lamport signatures and quantum computing, because quantum computing has some bearing on how secure blockchains are going to remain. They're secure now, but with quantum computing, you can brute force blockchain. So these are some areas that I usually look at, but you can discover more. Don't limit yourself to just this.
Awesome. I think thanks again, Yash, for sharing your valuable insights with us today. I think we truly appreciate the time and effort you have actually put in making this session so engaging and informative. It was a pleasure to have you with us. We've come to an end of today's webinar, and yeah, thank you all. I would like to thank all the speakers for sharing their knowledge and insights, and thank you everyone for participating. in our fireside chat. We hope you found the session informative and engaging. We look forward to seeing you at our next session. Have a great evening. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Yash.
Thank you.